So what we're going to be doing today is a really simple, quick, and effective either highlighting or low lighting technique that's accomplished in anywhere between 8 and 12 foils. And the beauty of this is that it can be adapted to many different lengths, many different textures. You can use weaves, you can use slices. It can be used as an add-on service or a standalone service. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys.
And because Max loves the chemistry part, he gets us going, he gets us thinking about the chemistry. We included not just the technique, but the approach. It's really interesting. I find that colorists will learn a technique and they'll learn a placement. They'll talk about, is it a weave effect? Is it a slice effect? But I find approach is really interesting. And there is a reason why the approach today is the way it is. And so Max is going to connect with that as well. So I'm going to move out of the way, let him talk a little bit about the products that he's using and why.
Yeah. So first thing I want to talk about actually with you guys is sectioning. So you can see on her, we have a really simple 4-quadrant diamond put in the front, or on the top rather. And you might be thinking to yourself, why a diamond? Well, what is a diamond really? It's a series of connected diagonal lines. So think about it like this. The rules of hair cutting also apply to the rules of color placement. Horizontal cutting or horizontal placement produces weight. Vertical leans out of shape or removes weight. But a diagonal is really special because it creates a directional push. So what we're doing is we're utilizing diagonals placed on the round of the head to give basically a maximum splash or spill of color along the whole surface of the head. So on this one, she has a center parting, so her diamond is symmetrical, but this can also be adapted to a side parting. So if you look on our doll here, you can see she wears a side part. So this side of the diamond is heavier and this side of the diamond is more narrow. So again, super adaptable. And the way we're going to be working this placement is think about in a clockwise manner. So if where her nose is 12 o'clock, here is 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. We're going to be working clockwise, interlocking the foils basically until we have a little tiny section on top or we run out of hair.
Right on. And what effect is this going to give?
Again, just a nice spill of color all throughout the surface of the hair.
Right on. Right on. All right.
All right, so let's get to it.
So what are your formulas that you're using today?
So I'm going to outline my diamond using Color Space Primary Permanent in Lilac. Now lilac is one of our push tones. And push tones are basically like, you could compare them to intensifiers, right? But one of the things that they're like an unsung hero of the line because they actually can be used alone.
And our white box is our ammonia line. So the alkalizer that's inside the white box is ammonia. All right, and what developer are you using?
I'm using 20 volume.
And why are you using 20?
Because I like it. No, what I want to do is really achieve maximum dye development. And what that means is, when we're talking about hair color, there's 2 components to dyes, precursors and couplers. And what they actually do is they connect and actually form a completed dye molecule at the end of the dye development. And that is what gives the hair its color. So the standard, typically for permanent hair color, which primary is a permanent hair color, is 20 volume. So we're doing that in order to get the exact color that's shown essentially in the swatch book.
So what would happen, what would be the difference of using 10 volume versus the 20 volume?
You get a little bit of a deeper color because the dyes are slightly underdeveloped, but that's totally okay. It's just a little bit different.
And that's why 10 volume looks deeper.
That's right.
So our developers are oxygen working time.
Absolutely.
So 10 volume will stop working, so then you don't get that lift. It just...
Think like, it's almost like, do you remember, it's like Legos, like in the hair, right? So with the 20 volume and permanent hair color, the Legos are fully connected. With 10, they're a little more loosely connected. So it creates a different effect. It's still okay. It's just, like we said, different.
Right on. All right. So 20 volume is going to give you more of the deposit a full deposit in your working time.
Yes.
In your primary, which is the ammonia line. Right on. So talk to us a little bit about what you're doing here. And we have some new people that are coming in. Hi, Lupi Voss from Color Space. I'll give you a little heads up of what we're doing. We are doing a diamond placement. This is a very quick 8 to 12 foils. Either you're doing highlights or you're doing lowlights. This is a very special placement that Max has brought to the table. So we're working in a clockwise, correct, Max?
Mm-hmm.
As we're working around, we're starting with our first formula, which is primary lilac with 20 volume. Lilac is a push tone that's in our permanent ammonia line. We have 2 permanent lines. Our first line is primary, and this is the alkalizer, and this line is ammonia. Our second permanent line is 0. This is ammonia free. So we're starting off with our alkalizer that needs a little bit more working time, which is primary with our 20 volume. And we were talking a little bit about the approach of color and why we would start with a certain color first. So keep on talking about what you're doing. So you're doing slices. Can you do this with a weave effect?
Absolutely. You know, it really just depends on what you want to end up with. I like slices personally because you can slice fast and you can slice a lot. So especially if you're in kind of a time crunch or a pinch, that's my special one for the next.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Oh, I see what you did. Max did some special foils, and you're going to have to talk about that. Okay, keep going.
I will.
Keep going.
So, like, I like to really think of, I like cool techniques, but I like to think of salon speed.
Right.
So, let's say you just wanted to add a little something onto a retouch. This is perfect. And maybe you don't want to refresh her faded lengths and ends, but you want to give some dimension. You could actually take her retouch color and do quick slices in this pattern just to create a dimensional effect without putting color everywhere. And that's the whole idea with this. Less is more. With foils, with your approach to application, all of that. And that's kind of what I really wanted to show you guys today.
And I do like that these are at a diagonal. Earlier, Max had said when he was describing the pattern in a diamond shape, that they're diagonal lines that are connecting. So everything is falling at a diagonal, which gives you a beautiful blended finish. Anything that you do, even if you're cutting at a diagonal, as it falls, it's a very beautiful, soft movement. So that's what the end result will be on this placement. Speaking about the placement, the subsectioning, we're going to drop the head sheet into the feed so that you guys can click on it, download it, and use it for you later. So our Emma from Color Space will drop the head sheet that Max created for you inside the feed so that you can grab it and just download it. Put it into your catalog of placements. Right on. So we've got our first round that just happened, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so now what's going to happen? I'm really
so now,
excited about
we're
this.
back at 12 o'clock. So now this becomes basically like one section, right?
Here's her nose, 12 o'clock.
So then we're going to move in about 1/2 inch. And we're going to take Another
Density?
section across, yeah,
And this is density.
that's right.
Okay.
I gotta clean this up a little bit because she was all twisted up.
Okay.
And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in with our second color,
All
which
right.
is sitting on the Unimix, which is our zero ammonia free.
Can I mix
pink.
it?
Go
Okay,
for it.
let me show you, everyone. Okay, this is zero ammonia free. This is a permanent line as well. Again, we have our white box, which is ammonia, and then we have our ammonia free, and this is pink. And what developer are we using with pink?
Also 20.
Also 20 volume. And again, this is what's really interesting about the two. Primary ammonia 20 volume has a bit more power. I'm gonna let Max speak to it. Zero ammonia free in 20 volume has a different effect. But let's look at the Unimix, and then Max will talk about it when we get back. I'm gonna put this right here so I remember. Okay, team, this is the Unimix. For those who has not seen this Unimix, this is what mixes color space color, and this is what's amazing about it. You have a stainless steel bowl. We have a stainless steel bowl, and we have a lid to help protect us from inhaling any of the fumes. You have these trusty magnets that you drop into the bowl, and I want you to see this. Like when you pull the bowl off, we have the color already pre-mixed and they're ready for it to go. You can see the magnet. You can see how it grabs the bowl. I'm not dropping it, it's grabbing it. So that's how powerful that magnet is. And what we do, we have two buttons for color, not for our powder lightener. We have a temperature button right here that we're gonna press. What happens is it brings, this plate will bring the temperature, this color, to our body temp. It has to start, our hair color has to be at body temp before it starts processing. It takes 10 minutes for this to actually, the temperature to be, our scalp to make the color that temperature. So this helps get all of that activity happening already, so you can even shave off 10 minutes. I don't on great coverage because we need all the help we can get. All right, this second button, this is what mixes it. So I'm gonna hit the temperature button. I'm gonna bring this up, and the temperature button helps prevent any sensitivities with thermal shock. This is our mix button. So now, as you can see, we've got, and I'm gonna grab Max's beautiful color space brush. What? And I'm just gonna wipe some of that off the magnet and around the edge and let it work. So now I'm gonna just let it work. While you're letting it process or mix, one thing that you can do is just keep your lid on, and that way you don't get any of the aroma. This is zero ammonia free, so there's nothing blowing up into my face except for just amazing aroma. Our developer is shea butter, and it just is so creamy and it smells so yummy. Look at that. Look at that. Can you use our color line without the Unimix? Yes, you can. But why would you? Look, it actually is part of the whole science of the color. You know, you're getting benefits of this temperature plate getting to body temp. The color, you can't mix this texture by hand. One of the things that I'm really, I really feel strong about, this mixes for 2 minutes, team. One thing I really feel strong about is we're not mixing in plastic, so we're not scraping the plastic bowls with a whisk and creating microfiber plastics. We're painting it on people's heads, and then we're shampooing it and going into the ocean. So this is really amazing. This is stainless steel. If you go into the factory where they make color, you'll see these big, huge silos, and that's where color is actually made in. So these are safe, team. You can mix color in this. After 2 minutes, it'll turn off. What can you do in 2 minutes? Like seriously, you could eat lunch. I mean, come on, we eat lunch in 2 minutes. You can answer the phone, you can get on your social media, post all your new looks. Okay, so here we go, it's gonna beep, you can hear it. She is done, all right. So, look at how pretty this texture is, team. Look at that. That is gorgeous. All right, I just made your brush dirty. I'm so sorry, I have a thing about a dirty brush. Hang on, let me wipe that off.
I've got a backup.
You got a backup? Here, wait, let me wipe this off for you. All right, so here you go, Max. This is your zero ammonia free, team. This one is the lilac, and this one is the zero. So tell me about, this is primary in 20, and this is zero in 20. 20 volume reacts differently with the white box in 20, and the black box in 20.
Correct.
Let's talk about it.
They do react differently in the amount of available lightning that you can create, but they are both permanent hair colors. So in the sense, when we were talking about maximum dye development again, still the same. I want this pink to be as punchy as it is in the swatch book. So I'm using 20 so that I get that full deposition and full dye development.
So what's really interesting when we teach using zero ammonia free, when we're working with an ammonia free color, the alkalizers are so different. 10 volume with our primary line will give you 1 level of lift. In order for us to get 1 level of lift in our zero ammonia free 1 level of lift, we have to actually up our developer to 20 volume. So in reality, it's almost as if the 20 acts like a 10 and it's giving you that deposition that you need. Where 10 volume with the black box, when you're working with an ammonia-free line, the MEA, it's a bigger, heavier, we call it the elephant. We describe it in our classes as we've got Mighty Mouse, it's super strong, fast, goes in, works as a gas, goes in, does all its thing. This one, this is Mighty Mouse. This one in the black box, or zero ammonia free, is more of an elephant. So it takes its time. It needs help. So the 20 volume is something that gives it that push. So the timing is very different on these. You could get great coverage, excellent great coverage, 30, 35 minutes with our primary, where you need a little bit more time. So the timing team is where you need to adjust for it. So, and one thing that I want to talk about with Max as well is you can use these as fashion colors. You can pre-lighten someone's hair and get them as to a pale yellow, and then put these on with fashion colors. But the thing is, it's not like a semi-permanent, right, Max? You can't let it set for 15 and then rinse it out.
No, because you have to think too, that's a whole nother technology. Those direct dyes are designed to sit on the surface of the hair. These are oxidative dyes, so they develop and get trapped inside the hair. So their lasting ability is way longer than 4 to 8 shampoos.
Correct. And the thing is that what's really cool about it is that these are fashion colors. Put them on, paint them on, apply them, let them process for their full time. Let them process for their full time. And if you left the zero on, there's if you haven't followed Andy from Andy Does Your Hair, you need to see this guy on Instagram. You have to follow Andy. He's amazing. We did his hair and we let it set for 40 minutes with a fashion color of violet. And he actually had to pre-light, he had to like strip it out with some powder lightener because it was so in his hair it wasn't coming out. So it's the processing time. Your developers, what lets it go into the hair and how long. Think about your timing. Your developers, your working time. Okay, Max, where are we at? We're working
We've
around.
almost made it to our 8th foil.
All right.
And as you can see, the sections get narrower and narrower as we are working toward the center.
And I noticed you made your foils a little bit more narrow.
Yeah, so that very first foil, I'd say foil number 5, that's gonna be your widest section. So I actually took 2 foils and creased them so that they opened up like a book so that I could cover that space.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So your first row, we've got our primary lilac. Our second row, we have zero ammonia-free pink. All mixed. Are these equal parts or 1 to 1.5?
1 to 1.5.
1 to 1.5. And when would you want to mix it 1 to 1?
If you wanted a little bit more opacity in your finish, that's really the beauty of Color Space, is that we do have flexible mixing ratios. Our standard is 1 to 1.5, but let's say you wanted a little bit more of a heavier, denser result, especially when maybe you're covering non-pigmented hair. You can mix your formula 1 to 1 and push that color even more. Because sometimes there's a case where, I know we've talked about it where we're like, oh, I really love that formula. I just wish it had a little bit more something to it,
Yeah.
but I don't want to go down a level.
Correct.
So we're like,
That's where we talk about Mansell. That's where Mansell comes in. We talk about hue, which is color. A lot of our education, the fundamental part at Color Space is Mansell. So we have hue, we have value, twist it, twist that thing. There you go. We have hue, which is color, value, which is level, and then chroma, which is our saturation. The one thing that I like, I have this thing, I don't know how I could say it. I do not want to compromise level for reflection. So when we do this, you can mix. When you're using these push tones and you're using them as fashion colors, when you're mixing them with your different ratio, that's how you can control your saturation. If you mix 1:1, you're getting more of the deposition of the tone. When you're mixing 1 to 1.5, it's actually helping to, I don't want to say dilute the chroma.
it actually shears it out a little bit.
It shears it out. Yep. Yeah, I guess it is dilute. Yeah, it does. Look at that. Huh.
It's like dilution without clear.
Dilution without clear. So our tube is what gives you the deposition. Your developer and your mixing ratio is what helps with the dilution. If you could, we could totally do clear. In the past, I've done a couple of these fashion colors, and we actually have swatches to show when you dilute it with your developer, either 1:1, 1 to 1.5, or if you dilute it with a clear. And then you can see the different finishes that you get. So yes, you can do fashion colors with an ammonia free, you can do fashion colors with an ammonia color, and you can actually do fashion colors with a demi.
Speaking of,
we are going to feature our new product. I can't show you the bottle just yet. But we are going to be using the demi very last because we were talking about the approach. So we need longer working time with our primary 20 volume and then our 0 ammonia free 20 volume. And we don't need as much time with demi. So that is going to be our last color. So tell me when you're ready and I can mix it.
I am putting in my final little, so you can see here now we're ending on just a little tiny slice.
Can you see that, Manuel? Yep. All right, do you want me to mix?
Yes, please.
Okay, so what is our ratio?
We have 30 grams of color in that stainless steel bowl, so we need 30 grams of 10 volume, please.
30 grams, so we've got 10 volume here and 30 grams. Okay, go ahead and talk about what you're doing while I'm mixing.
So I'm putting in my final slice here. And then what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna go in and tap on a bit of a root shadow in our 3D EMI light gray, which is a really beautiful, beautiful shade. And then we will take all of the remainder of the lengths and ends, and we have a special 3D EMI formula that we're gonna pull through, and it's gonna just bring everything together. So we are super excited about that. I'm gonna get these out of the way.
Thank you. All right, so we are mixing. If you wanna come on over here and check this out. We're mixing on the Unimix. Can you mix this with that? This does not necessarily need the Unimix. This is a demi. It's a liquid demi. Check that out. We actually can mix it with a cream to get this type of a consistency. So a cream developer will give you something that's a little bit heartier, and you can mix it by hand. You can mix it in your Unimix, no heat. If you noticed, I did not touch the temperature button right there. And it doesn't really need the 2 minutes because it is such a light product. But check out that texture, you guys, look at that. That is beautiful. So you can get a heartier texture. This is cream 10 volume. You could put this in with liquid in an applicator bottle and have a completely different texture. And it's so cool. And it just comes right through the hair. So here we go. So we are placing this where?
I'm just putting this on about the first inch of the new growth. So this will be the deepest color for this negative space.
All right.
And then what we'll do is we are going to work in a combination of our demi lilac, pink, and clear to kind of create a lighter version and merge the tones that we used in our foils. So still all in the same essential color families. And again, just to tie it all in.
All right, so right now we've got, again, which is this one?
This is light gray,
Straight up light gray.
Yep.
With 10 volume.
10 vol.
Beautiful. Okay, team, so we are, let's recap this. So while Max is putting on the new growth, we've got our subsection right here. So Max started with the diamond, and he said the beauty of this placement is the diamond are diagonals that are connecting. And as he's working around the head clockwise, he's taking the parting, giving a 1/2 inch of in between each of the foil of their density and working around. So our first slice was primary and it is lilac. Took a 1/2 inch. Let me say it again. Our first slice was primary, worked around the hair, took a 1/2 inch around density, took that out. The next slice was 0 ammonia-free pink, took a 1/2 inch, and then just the last is, the next step is painting on the new growth, and that is with gray, and then the last step we'll talk about in a second. So, okay, so talk to me about your 10 volume. Now we have 3 alkalizers, 3 different alkalizers with 3 different timings. So the approach is very different. So our first slice was with primary. Our second slice was with 0, both with 20 volume. Next we have our demi. What is the demi?
So the demi alkalizer is something called AMP, which is short for aminomethylpropanol. Say that 3 times fast.
So let's say we got the Mighty Mouse, we got the elephant, this is
The mountain.
the mountain.
So
Which
AMP,
does what?
so it's really interesting. AMP is really great at depositing, not so great at lifting, which is why it's mostly utilized in demi-permanent hair colors. So with, ammonia's the fastest, most effective lifter. MEA can also create lift, but not quite as well as ammonia. But the beauty of MEA is that it doesn't have that ammonia smell. So that's why we use it in ammonia-free hair color, in our ammonia-free permanent. And really the only caveat is you just have to adjust your developer to kind of make up for that lack of lift on the back end. But with MEA, or AMP, it is just deposit only, but it can deposit like an ammoniated color in less time.
In less time, it's all about the timing. That was the approach today. The technique is amazing. The work is beautiful. The colors, when we're finished with this mannequin, we'll blow dry it. We'll get everything all taken care of, and we will post the after photo in this feed later. But the key point for today was to learn about the approach and why you would want to use and do your technique with the different opportunities of what you're using the category. The beauty of color space is that we have all 3 alkalizers. And even that icing on the cake is that you can mix 2 of them together. So we mix these 2 lines together and create a hybrid formula. And that's all in the science and the reason why and how and when we would, that's a class. But the beauty is that you can actually, it's like we have our primary line, we have our 0 line, and then we have our hybrid line. And now we're going to be able to intermix one of these, our 3D with 0 or the 3D with primary. So now you're going to be able to, as a colorist, create So I think that's beautiful.
That's all about having choices, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are there any questions, Manuel, that you're seeing? Anything that's popping up? Okay. Let's go, let's keep going. So talk about what you're doing now. Let's work around this way.
So now I'm just continuing with my global application here.
What's a global application?
All over the head.
All over the head. Everybody gets it.
Yeah, that's right.
And what do you find the benefits of having an AMP?
I really like the level of deposit that I get from an AMP based hair color. I feel like, especially when you're doing corrective work, and you know, I know we could speak to this, is we were doing actual, you know, taking bleached hair and tinting it back to a natural color in one step, which I thought was like, it was so profound and amazing, the results we were getting. And the durability
And
that
the durability,
we were
yes.
getting from it. So
And the longevity, I think, is pretty amazing, the shine.
absolutely.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about your processing. So once you're finished with this last application with 3D, what is your timing going to be?
So after I get this root shadow on, we're gonna set the timer for 20 minutes because everything else has been processing, and that is the processing time for 3D. Then when we go to do her gloss, we're actually gonna do it at the bowl because we also, with our demi, we have very flexible mixing and timing options.
Okay.
So that particular formula is gonna be done on damp hair for 10 minutes to get more of a sheer gloss-like effect. Whereas we're doing this with 10 volume on dry hair for 20 minutes, which is gonna give us an even more dense result. So,
And if it sets on any longer, the processing time, if it sits on past 20 minutes, what may happen?
typically you will get anywhere, you know, depending on the shade you select, about half a level to a level deeper result. So like if you're low lighting and you're going for a level 7 end result, because you know you're not gonna pull those foils right in 20 minutes, what we've done is made, you know, just select one level lighter to make it easy. So you can, I like to walk away. You know, I don't like to worry and like have to be like, you know, so.
So there is one approach that I do when I am putting lows, or I call them shadowing because I don't want to call it a low light to a blonde. They'll think their hair is black. So I do call it shadowing. When I add a shadow back into the hair, I'll put all of my lights where I know that they want to be. And if I'm using a demi, I make sure that's the last step. That way it doesn't over deposit. That way it doesn't get too dark. And I know sometimes it can look uneven. Sometimes the hair can take unevenly. I know that we talked about coloring hair on clean hair.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Let's share it with everybody.
So something I learned from one of my mentors a long time ago was like, you know, he was like, why are you coloring dirty hair? And I was like, well, the instructions say, you know, apply to dry, dirty hair. He's like, all right. And he used this analogy and it was like, kind of like blew my mind, but he was like, you know, all right, if you're renovating your kitchen, think of a wall. If there's stuff, let's say there's grease on that wall and old plaster buildup and just, you know, whatever, some kind of pollution. He goes, are you gonna paint over the wall and then treat it?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you gonna, you know, get that wall cleansed, sanded down, and ready for color? And I was like, well, you know, the latter. And so he was like, the same applies to hair. And when I started actually clarifying the hair, and literally, I don't mean like a clarifying treatment, just a clarifying shampoo. When I started doing that, and at the time I lived and did hair in Florida where you know, for all my Florida friends out there, we know that the water is less than amazing and it tends to have a lot of pollutants in it. My client's hair faded less. They were coming back the color that they left. And, you know, I just saw a big difference in my end result.
Yes, I have to. Since Max and I spoke about it, I do have an amazing redhead, Miss Nicole, that I do. And I started shampooing and towel wrapper, bring her back to the chair, mix up her color, take her towel off, apply. Her color, her red is so vibrant, it's so beautiful, and it's not fading at all. So try it at home. I know that, and then I don't know who told everyone just come in with your hair dirty. I don't know where that started.
Yeah, it's a terrible rumor started.
When they come in from the gym and their hair's wet. Oof. All right, so we are still at the new growth.
Yep.
And this is the Demi.
We're
Again,
almost done.
We have, while you're painting on this last, talk about what we've got going on one more time, the formulas, the first formula.
So the first set of foils, so the first diamond is going to be our primary permanent hair color, lilac push tone, mixed 1 part color to 1.5 parts, 20 volume. Our second diamond is our zero ammonia free pink push tone, mixed 1 part color to 1.5 parts, 20 volume. And now we are using our new Color Space 3D Demi in light gray for a bit of a shadow root. And that is going on her
With
new
10
growth.
volume.
10 volume.
And we did cream, and what you could do liquid. The cream, it has a really nice texture, it has a really nice consistency. That's, you know, we have shea butter that's in the developer that gives it that hydrating and moisturizing, repairing, and it just makes it so, it just slides right into the hair, doesn't it?
Well, and it also stays where you put it. So you don't have to worry, like, I don't know if you've worked with other demis where, you know, they kind of get too liquidy and then they're like running down somebody's face.
Yes, and they start to slide.
Yeah, this doesn't. So that's the beauty.
So
of
there's
this.
a question. What about hydrogen peroxide put on possibly freshly washed scalp? Maybe there's a scratch. So what do you do to prevent roughing up the scalp?
So when I say pre-shampoo, I don't mean change their life. So when you're gonna do this,
Like where you have to
yeah. So
get into third position and just
Exactly.
massage them.
So you're gonna take your client back to the shampoo bowl, wet their hair down, and literally just foam up the clarifying shampoo. So instead of
You're not
thinking,
scrubbing their scalp.
not fingertips, like,
You're not scrubbing the scalp,
Yeah.
you're cleaning the hair.
yeah,
There you go.
All you're doing.
That's it. Not scrubbing the scalp, you're cleaning the hair. How about that? Does that
I
help
love
you?
it.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, because we're just gonna take that and market that.
All right, and we are.
DM me, we'll talk later. 10%.
So we're all applied.
Okay, so go ahead, talk. Now what do I need to mix here?
Nothing. We're gonna wait for this to process.
Okay.
And then we'll gloss her at the bowl.
Oh, so talk to them about what we're gonna gloss her with.
So again, we're gonna use in our 3D, we're gonna do a combination of Demi Pink Push, Demi Lilac Push, and Clear. So all in the same tonal families of our foil placement that was done in permanent and ammonia-free permanent. So that's going to essentially help to marry everything together, keep it all in the same tonal family. It's also going to give the hair, you can see this hair, she's been beat up a little bit. She's had a,
Nice.
she's seen some,
I've used this mannequin in our Hair Brain Lives. If
Yeah.
you guys want to go into the blonding section, this is one of. So yes,
Yeah.
okay. So she's
But-
a little compromised.
but the nice part about it is that it's going to have a high shine finish, and you know, you're not charging up this hair with any alkalinity that you don't need.
Right, right.
So
Alex, hi Alex. I saw your question. So Alex asked about You're gonna shampoo the hair, cleanse the hair, not the scalp, and wrap them up in a towel, take them back to the station. He asked, on damp hair, question mark.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, a sponge. And Max and I talk about this all the time. It's so much fun. So when you get a sponge and you go to wipe something up, it takes a little bit for the sponge to get wet and then actively soak up the water. When you have a sponge that's already wet and you squeeze out the moisture, it is ready to take on what you're gonna put it on. Hair's the same way. It's porous. It's a 3D porous piece of texture. So yes, Alex, on damp hair, you don't have to blow dry it. I know, we've been in classes together where I said, yes, you have to re-dry the hair. No, you don't. Do a towel wrap, go mix your color, come back, take it down, comb through, careful on the scalp again, and then apply, and you will be fine. But don't rough up the scalp. The key word, and I think that we really need to focus on, is clean the hair, not the scalp. Because we're not coloring the scalp, we're coloring the hair. Get all that stuff off. This is what's interesting about it. I know I get so excited about it. This is what's interesting about it is color is negatively charged. If you get a magnet just like this, let's get us as a visual. You've got a magnet and you've got metal. It'll pull it. You can see it's pulling it. If you get one that's negatively charged, when you do this, if they're negatively charged, you can't touch because they push and it pushes away.
Repel.
It repels each other. And it's the same thing. Pollution, oil, product, the color stuff that people put on to camouflage their gray or white hair in between their appointments, all of that is negatively charged. So you want to get anything out because this is negatively charged, the color's negatively charged, it's counting on your scalp to be clean for positively charged. And I know getting into it, the ingredients deck, the cleaner your product, the higher performance that you'll get with your product. Our product is got a very clean deck. I will tell you that. That would be another class. But yes, on damp hair, make sure the hair is clean. And the one thing that you can do is shampoo and put bond. You could do your shampoo, put bond on. This is a multi-purpose product that we have. You can use it in your color. If you have sensitive scalp, you use it is actually required for on the scalp bleach application because this has marigold in it. This also helps with anybody who has psoriasis, which is really cool. So you could shampoo them, put this on, let it set, go mix up their color, rinse them, towel dry. So now you've just evened out the porosity in their hair. So bond is a treatment that you can do in between while you're mixing the color as well.
And it's also a great, and it's most often overlooked as a pre-treatment.
Yes.
You know, if that hair is already, if you have a guest or client that's sitting in your chair and that hair is roughed up, like before you even are gonna put color on it, there's no reason why you can't do a pre-treatment prior to color to help give it a little more reinforcement. And bond is perfect for that.
Bond is perfect for that. Alex asked, how much time do you book into your schedule to cleanse the hair before? 5-10 minutes?
Yeah.
5-10 minutes. Yeah, we're not, again, it's like a quickie. It's not anything that you're going to be changing their lives. You can actually even maybe train them to shampoo before they come in. Not train them, I'm so sorry. Ask them. You could ask them to shampoo their hair before they come in. Okay, so we're going to gloss. Okay, so let's talk about the removal of color and then we're done.
Right.
So let's talk about this. So how many times you shampoo?
So I'm gonna pull all the foils out. I'm gonna rinse everything until the water runs clear. I'm gonna give it 2 shampoos. Then I'm gonna towel dry, and that's key. Because remember, the hair is a fabric, so it's porous. So if it's full of water, there's not a lot of room for the color. So we wanna just squeeze the excess out, 2 towels maybe. And then I'm gonna apply the gloss with an applicator bottle. I'm gonna let that process for 10 minutes. Again, rinse till the water runs clear. One more good shampoo, and then I'm going to apply Stop. And this is an amazing product because this is our post-color oxidation stopper. Has a very low pH, and it also has an ingredient in it called manganese gluconate.
Say that 10 times real fast.
That and imidazopropionol. So, what manganese gluconate does is it actually stops the chemical action. And that is what will prevent something that you guys may have heard the term creeping oxidation. And that is where if color is not thoroughly shampooed out of the hair, it's still in the hair. And it can still continue to work and oxidize.
I do want to add to that. This is a pH normalizer. There are a lot of pH normalizers out in the market. I will say the innovative piece about this is first and foremost the conditioner. It is a shea butter base. You'll find that we do like hydrating and repairing. So it is a shea butter base. The beauty of it, does it take the pH back down? Yes, it's 3.9 pH. Oh heck yeah, it does. Does it shut the cuticle down? Do you get a lot of shine? Yes. But what we wanted to make sure is that all the chemicals were stopped. That's why it's called Stop. So that way you don't have creeping, what did you call it?
Creeping oxidation.
Creeping oxidation. You don't have post-color processing because all the chemicals have been stopped. Shutting down and normalizing is great, but you don't want it to shut down and normalize color into the hair shaft. So this stops it from working. So this is Stop. Then last,
again, with the Bond. Bond is a great addition to your post-color protocol, especially because this hair is bleached and she's got all the time she needs today, so she can stay for that extra 5 minutes. So she's getting the Bond. You don't have to do Bond, but we recommend it because, again, it's just one more step in ensuring the longevity and durability of your end results.
I do like doing Bond between the glossing.
Yeah.
I will shampoo, get the color out, Bond, let it set for 5 minutes. I'll mix up my gloss, come back, rinse Bond out, and then I'll gloss on top. I like doing that. I find that it's really nice and even.
Absolutely.
Right on. Okay, so we are going to process. Let's talk about what you can do. So this one, team, we did old-fashioned color. We worked in a circle. We have lavender, we have pink, we have a gray, and then we're going to gloss with a pink and gray?
Pink and lavender.
Pink and lavender mid-lengths and ends. So we will post this picture at the end when we're finished. But what can you do with this if someone doesn't want a fashion color?
Oh, the opportunities are endless because you can make this as subtle and commercial as you want or as wild as you want. So this could be done with lightener. It could be done with lightener and high lift hair color. It could be done, low lights only with demi. It really just depends on what you want to achieve in your end result.
Right on. So just think about what alkalizer you're using.
Yes.
Is it a pneumonia-free? Is it a pneumonia color or is it a demi color? Whatever you need the most time, it's kind of like cooking.
Yeah.
We were talking about it's kind of like cooking. When you're making a meal, what needs to go in the oven first? That takes the longest to bake or cook. So that's how you would approach it. What else would you do with that?
You could also do, if I'm dealing with previously colored hair and I don't necessarily want to use lightener, I will use our primary zero clear just to create a subtle shift on that previously lightened hair, what we call a polishing formula, where you're just using the alkalinity of the color to kind of break up some of that density on those previously colored middlings and ends.
Yeah, we call that polishing. Shift happens.
Yes.
It doesn't lighten it, shifts it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shift happens. So there was a question about so we were talking about post-color processing and it stopping the color. The question was, doesn't water do that? Whether there's two things that happen that's coming to this question. One could be with color. Let's talk about with hair color, and then let's talk about with powder lighteners, because that's two.
Okay.
It's the same, but it's different.
Right. So when you're taking color down, usually the school of thought is like let's say you're using lightener. The pH of lightener is like 12, and usually the pH of water is typically around 7 or 8. Most people think it's like the sum of 2 parts divided by 2 is what you're doing. So if, let's say, the hair is alkalized to a pH of 12 and you put water at a 7, 12 plus 7 is 19?
19.
19 divided by 2 is 8.5. So that is not how the pH scale works. The pH scale is a logarithmic scale, which means every jump it makes, it's by a factor of 10. So, and the rule in chemistry is alkaline trumps acid. So every step in that color takedown process is really vital. So it's not just like a one and done kind of thing. That first rinse, when you rinse the color, that brings it down a little bit. That first shampoo brings it down a little bit more. That rinse after the shampoo brings it down a little bit more, which is why we recommend to shampoo twice.
Yes.
And then by the time you get to putting Stop on it, Stop also has a very acidic pH, and it has the manganese gluconate. So you're neutralizing the chemical action and also bringing the pH down. So it is actually a buildable process as opposed to just, let me pour something cute on and it's done. That's not really how it works.
Yes, Alex. It is important to do 2 shampoos. There is color that is left on the scalp. Alex has said that they've seen, there's been studies that there's still color left on the scalp. We don't get, and that can cause sensitivity in the future. So we don't get sensitivity the first time color is placed on the scalp. We get it 2 or 3 times after, because our body's trying to decide, do I like that yet? Because it's a chemical, it's on your scalp. So we have to figure out, and then sometimes you're like, oh, I don't know about this. The more, the process of bringing the pH down, 2 shampoos is super important. And yes, the shampoos should be very thorough so that you can start getting this out. Alex, massaging that Stop into the scalp stops all of that from happening as well. So it is important. Color removal is very important. And yes, water does start the process of bringing that pH down. But just once is not enough. You need to do all the steps properly in order that it's a chemical. And that way we get it taken care of. Nobody gets hurt. You can do whatever you want as long as no one's bleeding or crying, right? So we've got to make sure we remove color properly.
And on the whole point of sensitivity, it actually starts when you mix the color. Because we know improper mixing can lead to sensitivity, which is why the Unimix was created, so that you actually get a homogeneous, fully mixed mixture of hair color, so that those precursors and couplers can actually come together.
Yeah, and that's why we have the Unimix. Like all of everything that we do has to do with what we do, and this team is what mixes all the intended ingredients properly. Our powder lighteners, if you want to see how we do our powder lighteners, go back and look at some of the videos that we've done on Hairbrain. I'm always featuring this machine and how to use it. And the reason why is it starts with the mixing, like Max is saying. The temperature button, it helps bring the product to body temp so that you don't have sensitivity. People are sensitive, so we have bond that you can place inside your color, and mixing it for a certain amount of time and at a certain speed. Can you use our product without the Unimix? Yes, you can, but the texture is so amazing. It really is amazing. And just make sure that you're mixing it properly. Okay, so we had a lot of chemistry today. Thank you, Max, so much for being here. We were here all doing work and testing, so I was like, Max is gonna do this live. So we will put a couple of are we gonna drop another
A variation.
variation? Max is gonna send in a variation that Emma is gonna drop on the feed so that you can do this placement again with even a different color.
Yeah.
So we will see you. We will post our final result later on this evening, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
See you later.
Bye.